We are, am I right? Do you love yourselves? I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
In Cape Town, we met Emile,
All right, so we need
the
to
director of a local NGO. He uses hip-hop to educate youth about African empowerment and responsibility.
You know Eminem, but you don't know people who died for your freedom so we could sit together over here today. Yeah? A couple of years ago, you wouldn't be able to sit together like this. But you know Eminem. Yeah? Something to think about. We need to change how we think in South Africa. You need to get involved. You need to say what's on your mind. All right? You need to. People died. Even if you go to the ballot box and just tear up the paper, you made an attempt. You got involved. You voiced your opinion.
A simple thing like we had this Yield the Wood project, and we brought some kids from Scandinavia to live in Mitchell's Plain and in the Cape Flats. And when they came to the airport, people at the airport, before we fetched them, told them as they came out, fetch their bags, people were like, "Are you going to the Cape Flats? No ways, there's like a lot of gangsters. How can you live there? And you white kids don't survive, So they came out very nervous. And then they lived for a week on the Cape Flats, and they met the families, and they stayed with the families and made friends, And when they met people and they told them, we were living on the Cape Flats and we're having a ball of people, like, what? And then something happened with the tsunami in that disaster. And the first thing that happened is that kids called me from all over the Cape Flats that same night. And like, hey, are our friends okay? And suddenly it struck me of what we're not doing is we're removing the human face of all of everything that's happening in the world. It's all like in Africa, and people immediately, the image they get is like these kids with swollen bellies and like poverty stricken, and like one stereotype is just like across the board of what's from Africa. And it isn't your friend that you met. You didn't visit the family. You didn't get the real story behind it. Really get the suffering and the pain that's involved. And it wasn't like it was your family. It's very removed. And I think that's the important part. They need to bring back the humanity. And I think from that experience, I learned that it's important for us to go to places we haven't gone before, and to make friends with people that are from different communities. It's very difficult, but it's like the same way apartheid forced people apart. We need to force ourselves to do that. Force ourselves to think differently about things.
15,000 miles after Cairo, we tried to comprehend what our journey had taught us. It had brought us face to face with the tragedy of human suffering and the undeniable and lasting change that is needed in Africa. But it also taught us that the aid we have been giving has not always helped, and that we need to take into consideration the unforeseen consequences of our actions. Despite our sobering new knowledge that good intentions are not always enough, we time and time again encountered hope. We stumbled on it in children who demanded that they be seen as something more than statistics. We came across it in the NGO worker who wasn't afraid to admit that their program needed to change. And we met it in the local project that was effectively defining what development means in Africa. With feelings of disappointment and optimism, the four of us were at odds. Should aid be increased or stopped altogether? Do the answers lie in business or perhaps in politics? Each of us had our own opinion, as will anyone who cares to engage with one of the defining problems of our time. One thing is clear. There is no simple package that will end poverty. Each situation is unique, needing its own specific attention. And there is no one better equipped to do that than the individuals who live that situation every day. This movie is the 6 months we spent learning, an experience we thought was worth sharing, to introduce you to the incredible people we met and some of their ideas. Please, keep them in mind.
And from now on, whenever you sit in front of a television and looking at pictures from Africa, you'll always disagree, I promise. You'll always disagree because you have seen the pictures in a broader spectrum than the one you see there.